This TikToker was walking his dog through the Appalachian woods during the day when he suddenly heard what sounded like a child crying somewhere in the distance, but no one was visible, and it didn't seem like a place where children would normally be.
Let's go check that out.
Anywhere else he might have brushed it off, but knowing the stories and folklore surrounding Appalachia, he wondered if the sound could mean something very different, something people are often warned to stay away from. In 2023, a young couple rented a cabin deep in the Appalachian Mountains of Kentucky for a quiet getaway. While driving along an old mountain road, they suddenly noticed a strange figure standing in the middle of the road ahead. This is what their dash cam captured. The sight caught them completely off guard, and they later said the encounter stayed with them long after they left the mountains. The area has long been surrounded by local legends, including stories of a witch said to have cursed the land centuries ago. According to folklore, she still wanders the old mountains, appearing to those who venture too far into the darkness. Is that what they saw? A woman living in the Appalachian Mountains had been experiencing a series of strange events inside her home. Hoping to document what was happening, she began recording outside her house. While filming, she noticed something unusual in one of the upstairs windows. As she focused her camera, a strange figure slowly peeked out from behind the window, appearing to stare directly at her. It remained there for only a brief moment before quietly disappearing back out of sight. Some viewers believe it was simply another person inside the house, or perhaps someone playing a prank. Others argue the figure looked far too unusual to be explained that easily. Whether it was an ordinary person or something else entirely remains a mystery. But if the strange events she'd been experiencing were real, could whatever was watching her have had something to do with them? Facebook user Jacob was on a hunting trip deep in the Appalachian Mountains when he heard something that immediately sent chills down his spine. From somewhere deep in the forest, he heard what sounded exactly like a little girl softly singing, "La la la." According to Jacob, the eerie sound continued for several minutes, leaving him completely unsettled. In the footage, the singing can be heard faintly in the background, although it's difficult to make out clearly because of the distance. Deep in such a remote part of the Appalachian Mountains, and with the region's long reputation for strange stories and folklore, it's easy to understand why the sound unsettled him. Some viewers believe it's exactly what Jacob claimed to hear. Others think it could simply be a bird or another animal making an unusual call. What do you hear? A man was relaxing in his bedroom one night when something outside the window caught his attention. He noticed what appeared to be someone standing just beyond the glass. Unnerved, he tried not to make it obvious that he had noticed the figure. Slowly, he reached for his phone and began recording. The moment the camera pointed toward the window, the figure quickly stepped back out of view, as if it had realized it was being filmed. Because of the darkness and the reflections on the glass, it was impossible to clearly make out what had been standing outside. It could have been a person watching him who quickly backed away after noticing the camera, but some viewers argue that the way the figure moved didn't seem entirely normal. Whatever or whoever was outside left the man deeply unsettled, wondering how long it had been there and why. Moments like this are exactly why the so-called Appalachian rules have become so popular online. One of the most well-known says you should always close your curtains after sunset. Whether you believe it or not, experiences like this make it easy to understand why the advice has caught on. A woman was staying home alone one night in the Appalachian Mountains. At least, that's what she thought. While inside her home, something unusual caught her attention above the ceiling. She looked toward the dark opening leading into the attic. At first, it appeared to be nothing more than an empty space. But after looking a little closer, she realized someone or something appeared to be staring down at her. Trying to figure out what she was seeing, she zoomed in with her phone. The camera revealed what looked like the face of a young girl watching her from the darkness. Whether it was an unsettling illusion, an intruder, or something else entirely, one thing is certain. If I had looked up and seen that staring back at me, I'd probably leave the house immediately. Two girls were exploring the Appalachian Mountains when they heard what sounded like a pack of wolves howling somewhere in the distance. They started howling back, thinking it would be funny if the animals responded. Instead, they heard this. They became convinced it wasn't an animal. Whether it was another camper, a person nearby, or something else entirely, they never found out. But after that moment, the night didn't feel the same anymore. A family's home security camera in Paragould captured something unusual crossing a neighbor's driveway late at night.
No legs, and she disappears.
According to the homeowners, the neighboring house was empty at the time because the family was away on vacation. They also said they had never captured anything like it before or since. The family was convinced it showed a ghostly apparition. TikToker Ray71515 was in the Appalachian Mountains at night with a group of friends. As they were sitting outside, one of them noticed a pair of bright red eyes. Terrified, they started filming. Then the eyes suddenly disappeared. They wondered if they were looking at a crawler, or just an animal. But what kind? A man was walking his dog through the Appalachian woods during the day when this happened. The sounds were distant, somewhere between crying and howling, and seemed to echo through the trees. He stopped for a moment to listen, but his dog suddenly became alert. Both of them turned and started running.
Get over here! This way!
Whatever it was, the dog clearly didn't feel good about it. And when your dog wants you to leave, you should leave. A man named Charles Stewart, better known as Snake the Bigfoot Hunter, claims he discovered the decomposing remains of a Bigfoot in New York's Adirondack Mountains in 2024. According to Stewart, the creature stood around 8 feet tall and weighed roughly 300 pounds. Believing he had made an extraordinary discovery, he collected samples from the remains and claims they were later analyzed. Stewart says the DNA results showed the specimen was 58.5% Neanderthal and 41.5% human, leading him to believe Bigfoot is a human hybrid. He has since put the remains on public display and continues to invite researchers to examine what he nicknamed DAC. However, those DNA results have not been independently verified, and there is no publicly accepted scientific evidence confirming that the remains belong to an unknown species. Many experts remain highly skeptical of Stewart's claims. Even so, the story continues to fuel debate, with some calling it one of the most significant Bigfoot discoveries ever, while others dismiss it as just another unproven claim. So what do you think? Did Charles Stewart really discover Bigfoot? Brazilian hiker Felipe Castanheira was exploring Mount Washington, part of the Appalachian Mountains in New Hampshire, when a hike through the rugged wilderness suddenly took a dangerous turn. After becoming separated from his hiking partner on the Amonoosuc Ravine Trail, Felipe lost his way and failed to return. When more than 4 hours passed without any sign of him, conservation officers and search and rescue teams launched an urgent overnight search. Rescuers spent hours navigating Mount Washington's steep rocky terrain, but were unable to locate him before nightfall. At first, additional teams joined the search, expanding into remote off-trail areas, ravines, and nearby streams, while drones searched from above. Searchers also had to endure some of the hottest conditions seen on Mount Washington that year, making the already difficult operation even more challenging. Then, after more than 16 hours, Felipe was finally found alive after making his way to a mountain hut. Hungry, exhausted, and dehydrated, he was fortunately otherwise unharmed. After receiving food, water, and a medical evaluation, he declined further treatment and was driven back to his hotel. A man was exploring the Appalachian Mountains alone during the day when he suddenly heard this. He stopped to listen, hoping it was just a familiar animal, but the sound didn't sound familiar at all. It was unlike anything he had heard before. He quickly left the area. Whatever produced a scream that loud probably wasn't something he wanted to get closer to. A person living in the Appalachian Mountains claimed the same unsettling figure appeared outside their home every night. According to them, it never moved. It simply stood outside the window, staring directly into the house. One night she managed to capture it on camera and posted it online, asking for help to identify it. Behind the glowing eyes is a faint, dark silhouette that appears human-like, but it's hard to tell. Maybe it's just an animal seen from a strange angle. What's your take? A group of people were exploring the Appalachian woods at night with flashlights when they suddenly heard several loud howls echo through the forest. Moments later, the sounds were followed by what seemed like barking coming from the same direction.
You guys hear that? Yeah, that's awesome. Got some big storm coming in. It's crazy out here right now.
The noises carried through the trees, making it difficult to tell how far away they actually were. The group stopped to listen, trying to figure out whether they were hearing wolves, coyotes, dogs, or something else entirely. With no clear answer, they decided not to investigate any further and stayed together as they continued through the woods. A man was driving down a quiet road in Appalachia late at night when his headlights suddenly illuminated this. He swerved into the opposite lane to avoid hitting the person before quickly regaining control of his vehicle. Later, he reviewed the footage from his dashcam and saw what appeared to be a woman dressed entirely in white. The road was far from any homes, and it didn't make sense for anyone to be walking there at that time. Who, or what, was this woman in white? 26-year-old Isaiah Fox set out to hike the Appalachian Trail through Pennsylvania. Before continuing his journey, he contacted his mother to let her know he had safely reached a campsite and was heading back onto the trail. It would be the last time anyone heard from him. As the days passed without another message, his family grew increasingly concerned. When all attempts to reach him failed, authorities launched an investigation and asked the public for help. Search efforts focused on the section of the Appalachian Trail where Isaiah was last believed to have been seen. But with hundreds of miles of dense forest, rugged terrain, and countless side trails, locating a single missing hiker is an enormous challenge. At the time authorities issued the public appeal, Isaiah's whereabouts remained unknown, and the search for answers was still ongoing. A girl was exploring her mom's backyard when she noticed a small opening in the ground beside a narrow creek. Curious to see what was underneath, she lowered her phone through the hole and started recording. Instead of finding nothing but dirt and rocks, the camera revealed something completely unexpected: a hidden underground room.
Focus though. Focus.
Inside was a single chair, a bucket of water, and what appeared to be a small enclosed space with no obvious explanation. Still unsettled by what she had just captured, she shared the footage online, hoping someone could explain what she had found. Some believed it was nothing more than an old storm shelter or survival bunker that had been forgotten over the years. But at first glance, it looks a whole lot more unsettling than that, doesn't it? So what do you think she found? An abandoned shelter, or something much stranger? A man was taking out the trash one night in Appalachia when he suddenly heard a series of loud screams echoing through the darkness.
Yep.
The sound didn't resemble any animal he recognized, and they seemed to come from somewhere deep in the forest. As the screams continued, he decided not to wait around to find out what was making them. The footage was later shared online, where it quickly sparked debate. Some viewers believe the sounds could have come from wildlife native to the region. Others argue they don't match anything commonly heard in the Appalachian Mountains.
Yep.
Interestingly, this exact sound has appeared in several other online videos, raising the possibility that the audio wasn't actually recorded that night, but may have been added later. If the recording is authentic, what do you think was making those screams? And would you have stayed to investigate? On June 19, 2026, someone recorded this strange clip. The object appeared as a bright streak of fire moving across the sky, but some viewers felt it didn't behave like a typical meteor or piece of space debris. Its movements looked unusually controlled. Despite the unusual footage, the sighting received very little attention, with much of the public focused on the World Cup at the time. There was probably an ordinary explanation, but as long as no one explains what it is, it remains a mystery. A 23-year-old man from Missouri named Julian Horton reportedly went missing while believed to be hiking the Appalachian Trail in North Georgia. According to officials, Julian was last seen by family on March 3rd before suddenly disappearing. Days later, an emergency alert was sent to phones near the Appalachian Trail, asking hikers and people in the area to watch for him. At the time, very little information had been released about what may have happened. Authorities believed Julian had been somewhere in the remote wilderness area of North Georgia, where steep terrain and dense forest can make searches extremely difficult. As concern continued to grow, search efforts expanded across the region. Then, days later, authorities in Georgia located Julian's body in Fannin County. Officials later stated there were no signs of foul play connected to his disappearance or death. Locals later claimed that Julian had allegedly left behind disturbing notes before disappearing, with additional notes reportedly found near the location where his body was discovered. The case became a tragic reminder of how silent struggles can sometimes go unnoticed. If you or someone you know is struggling with suicidal thoughts or emotional distress, please reach out for help in your country. While enjoying a day outside, a person happened to look up at the sky and noticed a strange object hanging high above. The object appeared completely motionless, even as airplanes passed far below it. At first they assumed it might be a planet or another celestial object, but after taking a closer look through a pair of binoculars, they noticed what appeared to be a dark center surrounded by a hazy ring. Unsure of what they were seeing, they shared the sighting online.
It's like not moving at all.
While some offered more exotic explanations, one viewer identified it as a high-altitude research balloon, a conclusion that many others agreed with after comparing it to similar photographs. Are you ready to watch some more Appalachian encounters together?